Peace be with you. Today I wanted to make a video because about a word, and the reason why I'm making this video is that there's a lot of controversy regarding this word and a lot of misinformation, I have to say. And many people, unfortunately, do not look at the word as it should be looked at, do not analyze the word, do not think it through. And this word is the word Kafir, right? And this word in English is mostly translated as disbeliever, but it is also mainly translated as infidel. But what is an infidel? Who is the infidel, right? Now, if we look at, unfortunately, the majority of Muslims believe that all non-Muslims are infidels. So let's say somebody is born within a non-Muslim family. If somebody is born within a non-Muslim family, they get this label. Whereas if somebody is born in a Muslim family, they get the Muslim label. But it's not even true. And it's actually such a disservice to Islam when people do not actually use words properly. Use the word, actually refer wrongfully to a word. Now, if you read the Quran, it is clear who the infidels are. Infidel is actually refers to the people who were actually given the revelation and who witnessed the miracles, who were with the prophets, peace be upon them, and then they rejected it. They covered it up. The word kafar means the coverer, literally. It's somebody who covers up the truth despite knowing it, right? So it's an act of covering up. There's also another verse that gets quoted. It's about the gardeners. When they cover up the ground, this is the act of covering up, right? So it's actually covering up the truth. And covering up can only be done if the person know that they're doing something wrong, right? For example, it cannot be from a lack of knowledge. It has to be knowingly, right? It's for instance, somebody knows that stealing is wrong, but they do it, right? So nobody thinks to himself that stealing is good. Everybody knows because of the concept of good and evil that God has put in us, right? So basically, yes, this word is not always understood as it should be. I don't really like the word disbeliever because disbeliever simply means the one who does not believe. For example, I'm a disbeliever in, for example, other religions such as Christianity. I don't believe that Christianity as it is today, right, with the Trinity, with the belief in the Trinity is right. So I disbelieve in Christianity, but I do not know that Christianity is true, and I'm covering it up because I don't like the laws of Christianity, therefore I don't want to follow them. That's not why I'm doing it. I disbelieve in it because I don't believe it's true. So if somebody is not convinced of something entirely based on their own lack of knowledge, nobody can say that this is infidelity. Infidelity has to be done when the person knows that this is right and that that they're doing something wrong, right? Let me give you another example. Iblis, the Satan, the devil, is referred to as an infidel. But what does it mean? In that context, it's actually disobeying Allah, right? It's actually, going against the command of God, right? That's why, the majority of scholars consider the one who doesn't pray to fall under that category, to be an infidel, right? Even though he might say, but I believe in God and the last day, I believe in prophets and angels and all of that, but they don't pray. this is an act of infidelity because you're basically going against the command of God. God says to you, God tells us as submitters to God's will to submit to Him by praying, right? So this is a command. So if you go against it, it is an act of infidelity in and of itself. The term in the Quran is kufr, which means infidelity, covering up. What else? Disbelief in some cases, but disbelief and belief have to be defined properly. But this is what it means, right? And again, I'm just telling you about how I understand it. I'm not an expert, so you can refer to other people, but you have to really look at the word itself to understand it, not just taking it at face value and believing that, this refers to everybody, because it doesn't. When God refers to mankind, generally, He says, "Oh, mankind," right? Right. For example, يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. He says, "O mankind, worship you, Lord, who created you and those before you, so that you may become righteous," right? So God is actually addressing humankind with that kind of language, right? And you cannot say to somebody, how on earth, I mean, sometimes people are not really, they have such bad manners, right? As Muslims, right? They're actually turning people away from the religion when they say these people, look at these infidels, having this kind of superiority complex and belittling others. Nobody's going to be a Muslim. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, actually, God says to the Prophet, had you been harsh with them, they would not have followed you. They would have disbanded from around you, I believe. That's the word, that's the term in English. So how on earth can you bring people to Islam by having such low manners, such bad manners? No, infidels are not everybody. Infidels are, and also infidels can also refer to evil people. From my reading of it, for example, Pharaoh is an infidel, right? You have to look at the context. The infidels are the criminals, the wrongdoers, right? The Thalimun, the wrongdoers, the oppressors, the wrongdoers, the criminals. These are the infidels. You have to read the Quran. There are so many verses, and obviously I can't go through all of them now just in this video, but I'm just trying to make people realize that this word is used so cheaply, right? And you cannot just label people like that because you don't know what is in their hearts, right? It's better to leave it up to the scholars to basically be assigned somebody's case and, ask him questions and try to understand where he's coming from, right? Perhaps he didn't hear about Islam. Perhaps he heard, he heard Islam, he heard about Islam, but not in a proper way, right? In the proper way. At the end of the day, only God can judge us, and nobody should take this word so cheaply, should use it so cheaply, because you have to really look at it from its right, from the right angle, right? From the right angle. So also, yes, infidels, if you read the Quran, you'll find out that infidels are infidels after knowledge has come to them, right? Because as long as the message hasn't been delivered successfully, if the message hasn't been delivered successfully to people, then they cannot be blamed for rejecting it. Actually, the act of infidelity refers to rejecting. So it's not about disbelieving, it's about rejecting, meaning you brought the proof, the evidence, and so on, and then you reject it. You reject it. So knowledge has to come to you first, so that after that, obviously you can either accept it or you can reject it. And very often in the Quran, if you read the Quran, the people who reject the message are not just, rejecting it. They are also doing evil, right? They're doing some evil practices, right? For example, some of them, they killed the prophets, peace be upon them. Some of them they killed. So this is an act of infidelity, right? And it's very big, right? Also, God says those who increase in infidelity. So it cannot be about belief in a way. Sorry about this. It doesn't really, in my opinion, in my mind, and another brother said the same thing, that it cannot be really infidelity as in, disbelief, because you either you either believe or you disbelieve. But infidelity in this context can mean, being harsh, like being stubborn, and not just that, in evil deeds and sins and so on. So again, this is just my opinion and my analysis on the word, but the fact remains the same. We have to look at the word itself and stop applying it to everybody. Similarly, somebody who might be considered a Muslim because he's born within a Muslim family may not be a Muslim because, think about it, knowledge has come to them, but then they decide to, not pray. And not just that, they go to the bar, they drink alcohol, they do all kinds of crazy things, but the knowledge has come to them. They saw their parents, their grandparents, perhaps their family members pray, and then they went against it. They heard about Allah, they heard about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but they went against it. That would make more sense to believe that this is, infidelity in this context is obvious, right? So peace be with you, and perhaps I'll make another video soon, but hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So make sure not to always, do your homework on words before misusing them. Peace be with you.